So, I woke up pretty early this morning to watch that Pokemon Direct that Nintendo had, and I gotta say, I'm still pretty excited about it. I kinda just wanna keep talking about Pokemon today, so tell you what, are there any comics out there that are about capturing strange, powerful animals and having them fight each other? Are there any, like, where you become friends with the animals and you have like a magical adventure with each other and no one dies? Hey everyone, it's me, Aaron, and this is another episode of Comic Class, the show every single week on this channel where we just geek out about comics. And last week we saw the finale to the Spider-Man storyline, The Hunted, which had been playing out in the last couple issues of The Amazing Spider-Man, and it was good. Like, really good. Like, I was not expecting it to be that good. And I say that as someone who has actually really been enjoying Nick Spencer's run on Spider-Man. In fact, let me go ahead and just start with that because I haven't really gotten a chance to come in here and talk that much about Nick Spencer's run on Spider-Man, as well as Tom Taylor's run on Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. I haven't even talked about that at all, except for one Patreon video that we did. So, yeah, I wanted to come in here and let you guys know I'm really enjoying both of these books. I'm very happy with where Spider-Man is right now. Could be a little bit further ahead in one particular area, and I'm still kind of nervous about what they're going to do about one certain thing. I'm talking about the marriage. I'm talking about Spider-Man, Mary Jane. Are they going to officially get back together? Yes, I will always have that little Mary Jane, Spider-Man, marriage-shaped heart missing from inside my cold, dead body. But aside from that, I am completely happy with where Spider-Man is right now in these comics. And, heck, him and Mary Jane are together again. And it doesn't quite feel like I have to constantly wonder whether or not that football is going to be swiped away from me again. It feels like I can just kind of like chill at the moment and be happy with it. I think that's one of the main reasons I'm enjoying the Spider-Man books so much right now, is because, listen, if you guys have watched this channel for a while, you know Spider-Man is my favorite superhero. I've been a fan of him since I was a little bitty boy. But I didn't really enjoy the Dan Slott run, and that run went on for a decade, and that's a long time to not really enjoy your favorite character. But it feels like with the Nick Spencer stuff on Amazing Spider-Man, with the Tom Taylor stuff on Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, it feels like for the first time in years, I'm kind of reading the Spider-Man that I always loved when I was growing up. It feels like I finally have that character back. And it's not because he's back together with Mary Jane. That's appreciated, and I'm happy about that, even if I do still have that one concern in the back of my head of, oh god, how is this going to go horribly wrong? But it's not that. The reason why I'm really enjoying reading the Spider-Man books right now is for two reasons. The first reason is that it feels like I can read a Spider-Man book and not have to worry about all the horrifying consequences that are going to come from it. Like, it feels like for the first time in a while, I can pick up a Spider-Man book and just breathe. Because for several years on Spider-Man, it was, alright, who's going to die in this issue? Who's now going to become evil? Who's now going to betray this character? What is going to change significantly in this character's life that will have huge ramifications on the rest of Spider-Man's entire life? What is going to go on with this? What's going to go on with that? Is Spider-Man's brain going to end up inside of the Rhino's horn this time around? What the hell is going to happen with any of this? It feels like for the first time in a while, I can pick up a Spider-Man book and just go, hey, Spider-Man's doing stuff. That's nice. So, again, it's not like I'm saying I don't want big things to happen in the Spider-Man books. I don't want big things to happen every single freaking issue in the Spider-Man books. I need some time to breathe. And I feel like I've had that time to breathe. And with The Hunted, big things happened in this. And those big things had a huge impact. And I think one of the reasons they had a huge impact is because I was allowed to catch my breath before I went into it. And it was greatly appreciated. But the other reason why I'm really enjoying the Spider-Man books right now is because Peter just kind of feels competent again. And every single time that I talk about that, when I talk about how I feel like Spider-Man for the past couple of years has kind of been incompetent in the comics, a lot of people come in and say, what are you talking about? He was a super scientist in these books. He ran his own company in these books. Yeah, there's a difference between intelligent and competent. And I feel like the writers on these books now understand that. And I don't want to stick on this for too long because I don't want to go on some big tangent. We're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about The Hunted. But I do kind of have to let you guys know why I am enjoying these books so much right now. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that for several years now, yeah, Peter, he might have been a super scientist. He might have been running his own company, but he would give a big speech and then walk off stage and his fly would be down. He would do this amazing thing and then get hit in the face with a pie. He would do this incredible thing over here and then oops, all of his clothes are gone and now he's just standing around in his underwear for no reason. Yeah, it felt like Spider-Man, he's always been that character that people really got attached to because he had just horrible luck. And it feels like Dan Slott thought horrible luck made really bad choices, and he had all these bad things happen to him because he just massively screwed one thing up or another. It feels like we finally have writers on this book again who realize, no, he's got bad luck, meaning he can be smart, he can try really hard, he can do all these wonderful things, and then, you know, a meteor is going to come crashing into his building and it will just wreck his entire life. Yeah, that's kind of the bad luck that I was used to with Spider-Man. He was that guy who just had horrible things happen to him, but he still fought through it all. He still tried to get through it all. And I don't just mean as Spider-Man, I just mean as Peter Parker. I just mean as an average guy dealing with life constantly crapping on him. That kind of feels like the Spider-Man that we have now. A great example of what I'm talking about is that a couple issues ago over in Amazing Spider-Man, I don't know why I coughed on issues there, a couple issues ago, couldn't get the word out, a couple issues ago over in the Amazing Spider-Man book, Boomerang took Peter Parker because Boomerang is now living with Spider-Man, and you might be thinking, why doesn't Spider-Man just take him to jail? They took their time to explain to you all the reasons why Peter Parker cannot turn in Boomerang, even though he knows I have a supervillain as my roommate right now. It's the little stuff like that. It's thinking all the little things out about why Peter Parker would not fall into this really ridiculous situation unless there was a good explanation for it. But this has led to several wacky hijinks of having Boomerang as his roommate. And after Boomerang learns, oh, Peter Parker used to take photos of Spider-Man for the Daily Bugle, he takes Peter Parker to the bar with no name. The bar where all the street-level villains in all of New York hang out. So Peter is now surrounded by all of his worst enemies, and Boomerang brought him there for Spider-Man Trivia Night so that he could win the grand prize, so that he could have a ringer in his corner. And there comes a moment where they're asking questions during the trivia night, and Peter's like, this is stupid, this is dangerous, I need to get out of here. But he's looking around and no one knows the answer to any of these questions. And he's like, these people have dedicated their life to killing me and they don't know the answer to these questions, and they're such obvious questions. Okay, come on. Alright, I'm gonna answer one question. Just one question. And then it cuts ahead to him now at the final round, and he's gotten them all right, and I was like, okay, this is where he screws it all up. This is where he gets in over his head. This is where he says that thing that sets off the entire room and everyone's mad at him. No, he doesn't. He doesn't screw this up in any way, shape, or form. He does kind of a reckless thing by deciding to stick around this bar, but they kind of explain it from his point of view, and you begin to understand, oh, I kind of get why he would stick around for this. They actually give some good personal explanations of why Peter would allow himself to stay in this situation, and it all looks like it's working out for him. But then it doesn't work out because Boomerang screws the whole thing up, not Peter. So Peter, despite the fact that he actually thought about all this, was kind of smart about the situation, sure got in a little over his head, but still was safe to, look around and make sure that everything was going right. It was someone else who screwed up, and now Peter is just being dragged down with him. That's the kind of bad luck that Peter has. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of the Peter I've been missing. I've kind of been looking for that version of Peter in Spider-Man. So I feel like between the Amazing Spider-Man and the Friendly Neighborhood stuff, I'm now finally reading the Spider-Man stuff that I loved. And there is another thing that I have really enjoyed about the Amazing Spider-Man run right now, which is that it feels like it's taking care of a lot of the problems that I had with the Dan Slott run, and I mean the more specific stuff. I don't mean like the vague, Peter doesn't quite act the way that I feel Peter would act kind of stuff. I mean like the big stuff, like Black Cat is now evil for reasons. I'm not coming in here with an explanation of how that happened, because we never got an explanation of how that happened. There was one brief moment in the book where Peter said, "Oh, Black Cat, it's because your bad luck powers are forcing you to become evil," and then that was never touched on again, and then there was never any other kind of explanation to it, and instead they just kind of stuck with, "Oh, Black Cat turned evil because she was mad at Spider-Man." Okay, sure, fine, I guess that's a thing. They came in here and they addressed that, but they got so much deeper with it. They came in here and gave Felicia a moment to say, "Yeah, I know I kind of went down the dark path again, but it did kind of have to do with you," which was what they sort of set up in the Dan Slott stuff. But in the Dan Slott stuff, it was almost like a jilted lover kind of thing. It was almost like, "Oh yeah, you wouldn't let me do this crime, so now I'm mad about it. You sent me to jail even though that wasn't quite you. That was someone else that looked like you at the time. Oh, well now I'm mad and everyone has to pay." No, and here they come in and go, "Listen, we used to be close." And I don't just mean in a relationship, I mean we were friends. But now, for some reason, I can't remember your name, which was a thing that Peter did. He came in here, and after revealing his identity to the world, he had to do a thing that caused everyone who knew who he was to forget who he was. And they never really addressed that with some of his closest allies. They never really brought up that many of these characters would have huge gaps in their memories now. They brought that up in this book, and they came in here and they said, "Yeah, I really trusted you, and I've been in bad places before, but you were always the one who was kind of there for me, and now that was gone. And I felt myself kind of sinking into all this again." And then Peter does a very touching, emotional thing there, like a true sign of friendship between the two of them. I went, "There's the heart that I was missing." I love it. It's so... Okay, I'm not gonna go on any longer about this, but let's just say, it really feels like I've got that Spider-Man that I've been missing for a while. I really am appreciating the Nick Spencer and the Tom Taylor stuff. I've mostly been touching on the Nick Spencer stuff, but the Tom Taylor stuff, that is all just like 10 pounds of heart in a $4 bag. That is how much good stuff is over in the Friendly Neighborhood stuff. Check out that one that had him going to, well, okay, that's actually a spoiler. I was about to spoil that one. But yeah, check out the one of him pairing up with his new sidekick. That's all I'm going to say about that. Check out that one. That's, again, the kind of Spider-Man stuff that I grew up with and that I was missing. So yes, Spider-Man is great again. I am loving the Spider-Man stuff. And Hunted, again, there's a reason I set all that up. Hunted is kind of a lot of the stuff that I've been missing from Spider-Man. All in a big old Spider-Man story. So what The Hunted has been about is that in the past couple issues of Amazing Spider-Man, you've had all these cutaways to Kraven the Hunter out in the wild with this poacher. And he's been telling this poacher, "Listen, you're not a real hunter. You're not like me. You paid someone to let you kill a sick animal, and now you feel like a big man about it. Yeah, you're not a real hunter, but I'm gonna turn you into a hunter." And it's been clear that Kraven has had some secret plan this whole time. And then it went into a little bit of Kraven's past and his recent past, because it talked about how, I believe this was in one of the Inhuman books. I gotta be honest with you, I kind of dropped off all the Inhuman books long before the Kravens got involved, but there was this thing where Kraven had the High Evolutionary make a bunch of clones of Kraven, because Kraven killed off a couple members of his own family because he felt like they weren't worthy. So he decided he was going to have all these clones of himself, and they were going to age rapidly up to full maturity, and then he was going to pick whichever was the strongest hunter among them to make them part of his true family. So he sent all of them out into the wild to hunt down one rare beast, but only one came back. And that one decided that the rare beast he wanted to hunt was all the other Kravens. So now all of them were dead except for one, and he basically looks like Kraven in his prime, like a young Kraven with like not a lion jacket on, but a tiger tattoo. It really looks like new super tatted out Kraven, which is a weird sense, but it actually did look kind of cool. I gotta admit, if you're going to update Kraven, that's a pretty good updated look. I thought it actually worked pretty well in there. So Kraven said, great, you are it. You are my true successor. So join me in my plan. And then he reveals that his plan is that he has decided that the world he was brought back into is very different than the one he died in. Because he had what was in his mind the perfect send-off. He proved himself to be better than Spider-Man, and then he decided to take his own life. Then his family decided to bring him back from the dead. So he has hated being alive this entire time, but he can't kill himself again. Because now, thanks to the magic that brought him back, only the spider can kill him. Only someone with the spider totem can take his life again. Spider-Man refuses to kill. So, what he has decided to do is he's going to now take advantage of this new world he came to. Because the world he died in was one where there were big, magnificent beasts roaming around and there were true hunters in the world. But now it's full of just fat billionaires who pay people to let them go and kill sick and already dying and extinct animals. And then they claim to be, oh yeah, I'm a real hunter. No, you ain't. So Kraven says, alright, well, if that's the world that I'm now living in, gotta just deal with it. So he creates all these Kraven bots, like robots that have all of Kraven's hunting abilities, but now they're superpowered because, you know, that's what robots are. And he gives all of these poachers these high-tech VR glasses that allow them to take control of it. And he has Taskmaster and Black Ant kidnap all of these animal-themed villains. And he's going to release them in Central Park with this big impenetrable force field all around the park. So basically, it's kind of like that old story about the rich billionaire who invites people to his private island so that he can hunt them. Except instead of a private island, it's Central Park. Instead of normal people, it's animal-themed supervillains. And Spider-Man. So this is all very odd for Kraven. And Kraven's son keeps looking at him going, what the hell are you why would you do any of this? This isn't the Kraven that I grew up imagining. This isn't the Kraven I heard stories about. What happened to you? You're not the man I wanted to become. And Kraven's just like, no. It's all part of my plan. So basically what he ends up doing with this is that he's set all this up to create a situation where all these villains can't win. Where they are going to be killed off one by these poachers. Unless they can figure out a way to work together and kill the poachers. Because these machines aren't just linked to the poachers through VR, they're linked to them through their vitals. If the machines die, so do the poachers. And Spider-Man doesn't want anyone to die. And now Spider-Man is surrounded by these supervillains who are dying and these poachers who are dying, and Spidey just wants to save everyone. But he's just trapped in a situation where he can't. But also inside the park is Kurt Connor's son. Yes, for anybody who's been following this series for a while, you know that Kurt Connor, he ended up killing his own son because the lizard took full control of him. But then his son got revived as a clone, but the clone was dying. And oh my god, I can't believe I have to explain this crazy storyline. The clone was dying, so Kurt Connors had to do the one thing that he could think of to save him, and he injected the clone with the lizard formula. So now his son was going to live, but as a lizard person. Which, you know, is better than dissolving into a pile of goo. But the young Connors was brought into this park. He was being hunted as well. Black Cat formed actually a very nice relationship with him. It was actually really kind of this Ripley in Aliens kind of vibe that I had going there, where she was like, oh god, I want nothing to do with this, and alright, well, I guess I'm here, and I'm the closest thing to a hero that there is in here right now, so I gotta protect you, kid. And actually, they did kind of form a nice bond. Seeing Felicia trying to save this kid was actually really touching. So Kurt Connors sneaks into the park to try and save his son, but Kurt still got that lizard inside him. And Kurt has been able to keep the lizard in track by having this little microchip implanted inside of him. But it all comes down to this moment where Kurt has to make a decision. There is no way that he can get to his son in time to save him unless he goes full lizard. But he knows that there's a chance that he will lose control. Now, I should come in here and say, normally I don't spoil these big events when I want you to go out there and buy these books, and this was a really good book. So if you haven't checked this out yet, go ahead Check it out. I'm not going to spoil anything else for you from this point on. It was really darn good. And also, if you like to read books digitally and you have Comixology Unlimited, until I think it's Friday, all of the Marvel books are 50% off. Like, it's a huge deal, including brand new books like this one. So go ahead, check this stuff out. I really enjoyed this book. But if you've already read this or you don't care about it being spoiled, here goes. Spider-Man ends up getting trapped with Kurt Connors, and Kurt tells him, listen, my son is out there, and he's being hunted, and we have to get out of this trap, and the only way that we can break free, and the only way that I can reach my son in time is if I have the full powers of the Lizard going for me. But I promise you, if I go full Lizard, I will remain in control this time. Last time that I went full Lizard, I ended up killing my own son. I'm not going to let that happen again. You have to trust me on this. But in order for me to gain all my powers, I need you to rip the microchip out of me. And Spider-Man tells him, doing that with my bare hands could kill you. And Kurt says, we have to take that chance. So Spider-Man decides to risk it. He rips the chip out of him. Kurt goes full Lizard, breaks out of there. And then when Spidey walks out of their trap, he sees all of Kraven's guards just dead. And Spidey thinks, I did this. I got them all killed because I trusted that Kurt could stay in control, but he clearly didn't. He clearly went full Lizard and killed these people. And now who knows what he's going to do? And that's when Kraven appeared. And Kraven walked out, and he tells him, so you were willing to risk killing Kurt Connors if it meant saving someone else's life. But now you see that allowing villains like this to live never works out. It means that they're going to keep killing again and again and again. There's only one way to stop all this. It's for you to finally embrace the spider. It's for you to finally finish us for good. You have to kill me. I have it rigged so that the force field around Central Park and all my Kraven bots will all be deactivated if you kill me. They're all linked directly to me. So the only way to save all these people's lives, if you want to save the villains, if you want to save the poachers, you have to kill me. It's the only chance, and you just made that choice just a moment ago to risk killing someone else to save someone else. This is it. You gotta do it again. This is the only answer. You have to kill me. And Peter's actually thinking about it. Peter is now at his lowest. He cannot bring himself to do it, but there's that voice that's telling him maybe Kraven is right. I don't see any other way out of this. And that's when he notices all the guards that are dead, they're not slashed up with big claws. More of with little knives. And that's when Peter realizes Kurt did stay in control. Kraven's the one that did this. Kurt actually managed to retain his humanity, and he didn't kill these guards. So that's when Peter grabs Kraven and forces him to watch one of the monitors. The monitor that is focusing on Kurt Connors' son. Kurt Connors, the Lizard, runs in there, saves him from Kraven's son, and then he remains in control. Even though he doesn't have the microchip anymore, Kurt Connors is in control of the Lizard. And that's when Spidey tells him, no matter what, I'm going to find another way out around this. I'm going to find another way to defeat you. You're never going to get me to drop down to that level. And that's when Kraven finally realizes what makes Spider-Man powerful isn't the spider. It's the man. He finally realizes after all this time, he had been hunting the wrong thing. There had been nothing there to hunt. Instead, he should have been learning from Spider-Man. So Kraven tells him he finally understands the errors of his way. He finally understands that's why Spider-Man was always better than he was. It's because when Kraven tried to beat Spider-Man at his own game, he tried to embrace the spider, he should have embraced the man. He realized that Peter Parker's humanity is the reason why he was the superior Spider-Man this whole time. I did not mean to make a pun there about superior Spider-Man, it just kind of worked out. So he looks at Spider-Man and says, alright, you got me. I'm going to deactivate all the Kraven bots. I'm dropping the force field right now. You have people that you have to go and rescue. So go out there and do it. And I give you my word right now, I will never hunt you again. Ever. I made you that promise last time, but it only applied to that life. I promise you now, in every life, I will never hunt you again. You're finally free from me. So, Spider-Man is then escaping. He decides to trust Kraven because Kraven has always been a person of his word. He is escaping, and then he runs into Kraven's son, the younger, stronger Kraven, and the two of them get into this big fist fight. And then the younger Kraven has Spider-Man, and he's murdered him. But then he looks up, and he sees Spider-Man swinging by, and he's wondering, what's going on here? Then we get a flashback, and it's a flashback that is reminiscent of the first time that Kraven died. It's reminiscent of Kraven's Last Hunt, which was one of the best Spider-Man stories of all time, and that's one of the reasons why, even though Kraven has been good stuff since he came back to life, a lot of people have still been mad that he came back to life. Because his ending in Kraven's Last Hunt was phenomenal. It was an incredible way for that character to go out. So this was in here to sort of remind us of that first time that he died, and it has him going up to the casket. And it has him looking inside the casket, but it's revealed that what he looked at this time, it was a photo of him with all the children that he created with the High Evolutionary. And it shows that he actually did kind of care about them. He actually did want to actually have a family. And he has his internal dialogue. And he's thinking back to how he tried to escape this. How he tried to escape the fate of the Hunter. And there's this amazing thing that they do in here. For anybody who reads Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, Kraven has been a supporting character in that book. Not like regular, it's not like he's living with Squirrel Girl, but he pops up every now and again, and the two of them have this like weird on-again, off-again friendship. Because he's like, Kraven, are you being a villain again? He's like, no, what's that behind your back, Kraven? Just a superhero that I'm beating up right now. Doesn't matter, it's nothing, it's just move along, Doreen, it's no big thing. He has been a great character in that book, but a lot of people always kind of wonder, is the Squirrel Girl stuff canon, or is it not canon? Is it there just for a joke, or is it actually happening? There's a moment in which he's talking about how he tried to actually give up the life of the Hunter, how he tried to go down a better path before, but it just never stuck. And it shows him in the woods, sitting on a log, and he's looking at a squirrel on another log, and like, that is an amazing way to give this like little shout out of, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. You all know what we're referencing in there. I love that. I thought that was like the perfect little like, mwah, like little sprinkle of sugar right on top of this story. Just give that extra little kick. They even reference in here the first time that he appeared in the Squirrel Girl books. She told him, listen, you keep going after superheroes, but do you know how many big monsters are in the world? There's an entire island that's nothing but big monsters. Why don't you try and hunt those? And that's why he goes, you know what? I am going to give up fighting superheroes. I am going to go and fight big monsters. And it even has a moment in which he says, I tried giving up this life. I tried hunting even bigger game to see if that would fill that hole inside me. They actually bring the stuff from the Squirrel Girl books in here and kind of make it canon. I kind of love that. But he's talking about how he always tried to be better than Spider-Man. But Spider-Man was not going to ever kill him. And the only way he can die is by the spider. The spider is the only thing that can kill him. So he says, alright, I know what I have to do. I have to live up to the standards of Spider-Man. I have to be as good as Spider-Man is. I was never that good, but now is my chance to do it. And the only way I can do it is by becoming the Spider once again. You see, in Kraven's Last Hunt, he wanted to prove that he was better than Spider-Man, so he drugged up Spider-Man, buried him alive, then he put on Spider-Man's costume, and he went around town just murdering muggers, fighting villains, just being ruthless, just this very deadly version of Spider-Man. And he thought, yes, I did what you couldn't. I stopped all these criminals. I'm the real Spider-Man now, so I have nothing else to prove, and that's why he killed himself. So he embraced the spider again. And he became the representative of the spider totem once again, and his own son killed him like that, and that counts. And I know that a lot of people out there might think, how does that count? Because it's magic, and magic doesn't follow particular rules. It was very poetic. That's all that really matters. So yeah, it was just good storytelling. If it's good storytelling, then yeah, you don't have to worry about the rules of magic in there. I was blown away by this ending. Because, yeah, Kraven, he doesn't want to be alive. He wants to die. He had the perfect send-off. So he's going to kind of just constantly, forever, have to deal with the fact that I'm stuck being alive. I'm stuck being an immortal. And Kraven did have one of the best send-offs, and a lot of people out there really feel like he should not have come back. So you kind of got two reasons there why Kraven really wants to die again. You have to address that eventually, and this is about as good as they possibly could have done. The whole Kraven is immortal thing is one of those things that's like, yeah, shouldn't we address that? Why is no one addressing that? Kraven really wants to die, and he can't do it. Doesn't that feel like the kind of thing that would never not be resolved? Doesn't that feel like the thing that needs to constantly come up? Did I just say never not be resolved? That is an awful double negative. Let's pretend like this entire episode of Comic Class didn't even happen. Let's all just ignore everything that I said and move on with our lives. So, now I hope you understand why I decided to spend 10 minutes at the beginning of this episode talking about why I have absolutely been loving Nick Spencer's run on Spider-Man, because a lot of the stuff that I've been loving about Nick Spencer's run on Spider-Man were present in this story. Yes, it would have a sense of humor, but Peter wasn't the butt of the joke. It was more of other characters who are meant to be less competent, who are meant to kind of be jokey in particular situations. They were the ones providing the humor, because in very serious situations like this, Peter gets serious. I love seeing that. I love seeing Peter act more competent in these situations and not being the butt of a joke at a moment when you really do not need a joke. It felt like all the jokes in here were given to the right characters at the right times, and they knew exactly when to be serious. And there was so much heart in here. All the stuff that happened there at the end of Kraven realizing that it was the man that was the better part of Spider-Man, not the spider. I love all that stuff. It speaks to Peter Parker's character so much. But also, as I said, it really feels like Nick Spencer has just a list of all these dangling plot threads that have been in Spider-Man for a while, and he's just been going down every single one of them, just check, check, check. Kraven is still alive, and Kraven does not want to be alive, and fans are kind of conflicted about Kraven being alive. We have to address that. And they did. And yeah, again, nothing is going to ever top Kraven stories like Kraven's Last Hunt, but this is about as close as you could have gotten. So yeah, this is one of those things that had to be done, and they did about as well as they could have. And they have now established a new Kraven, Kraven's son, who now wants revenge on Spider-Man more than anything because he blames Spider-Man for his father's death. Yeah, you've now given us a new Kraven, while letting the old Kraven go off into the sunset. And you actually gave him a really good sunset. So yeah, how many times have I said so yeah in this? I love this. This has been one of my favorite Spider-Man stories in a while. I recommend everyone checking it out. Even if I just described everything that happens to you guys, it's still worth checking out. It's still that darn good. So go ahead, check that book out. It's one of my highest recommendations. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. I am completely out of breath, so I'm going to wrap up now and just let you guys know if you want to follow me around the web, you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Professor Thorgy, or I mentioned Pokemon at the beginning of this. Sure, I'll go ahead and plug it right now. We do have a gaming channel, so if you want to check out me talking about video games, check out Thorgy's Arcade. I'll have a link coming up to that in just a second as well. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time. Bye.